Hello, hello. My name is Mick, and welcome to this Getting Started webinar for CameraBit's Photomechanic. Greetings to everyone in the YouTube chat. We are streaming this live on YouTube. If you have any questions or as we go along, feel free to type them in the chat window. Greetings to Paulo from São Paulo in Brazil. Very good to see you here. Thanks for coming. And just to let you know, this video will be available to restream after it's over. You can come to the same URL and stream it later. So if there's something that maybe I went a little too fast on or something you missed you want to see again, you'll be able to watch this video again. So this is going to be a webinar about Photomechanic. We're going to go over some basics like what is Photomechanic, what do we do with it, what's it used for. Here's Photomechanic right there. Let's transition that over there. Yes. And yeah, we'll go over some basics as to what is Photomechanic, what is it used for, what are some preferences, things that you should be aware of, and how one might use it when the first time they start it. Let's let me adjust this a little bit as well as also. Yeah, let's make that a little bigger. All right, so this is the Photomechanic window. Photomechanic is, as you probably know, a photo viewer. It's a metadata engine. It's a file manager. It's really used for managing digital photos after you take a shoot and before you do pixel editing. Photomechanic doesn't do things like contrast adjustment, color correction. It's not for what we call pixel editing. It's more of an editor in the classic sense of what a photo editor do would be selecting photos, arranging photos, managing photos, renaming them, adding metadata, things like copyrights, keywords, captions, things like that about the content, adding ratings. Photomechanic does all that, and it's a very powerful tool for those sorts of things. And it's the reason Photomechanic exists, or the guiding principle in Photomechanic, is combining separate steps into single steps, things that can help you save time. Photomechanic was originally developed at the Super Bowl. Our founder, Dennis Walker, was at the Super Bowl in the early years of digital cameras, and he saw the editors on the sidelines or back in the editing truck sort of wrestling with viewing the digital files that were coming in and how to manage them. And he said they need a tool that will help us do that. So he wrote this, and that's how it got started back in the mid to late 90s. And it is now used to at many of the major sporting events in the world to deliver photos. You know, at the end of the first quarter, you have 500 shots from different photographers. How do you deliver those? Get those to the wire services when the deadlines are measured in minutes or even seconds. And we've heard that a lot of people now use it for other things because speed is helpful no matter what field of photography you're in, especially wedding photographers. Wedding photographers have told me that they've gotten their weekends back from using Photomechanic because of the speed. Culling a wedding is obviously an arduous process, and it can take a good amount of time. And before not using Photomechanic, if you're culling in something else, sometimes it would take people 6 to 8 hours to go through a large shoot or even longer. Using Photomechanic, you might get that down to 1 or 2 hours because of all the time they save. So they have time to work on other parts of their business or maybe just kick back and get some well-earned relaxation time. So Photomechanic, yeah, it does so many different things. It's hard to cover all of it. I won't be able to cover everything in this webinar, but we will go through the basics. And I'm going to go through, like I said, the interface a little bit. And I'm going to do a demonstration of an ingest where I copy files from a memory card. I go through a culling session. I talk a little bit about my philosophy of culling or how I would cull an event, and then show you how to get those images into a post-processing software. I'm going to use Photoshop via Camera Raw, and that's just one example. But you can use this with Lightroom. You can use this with Capture One. There's a lot of different things you can work on. We try our very best to make sure Photomechanic works well with other software. We know that we're just one part of your workflow, and we want to be a seamless, frictionless part of your workflow if we can possibly do that. So that's sort of another guiding principle of Photomechanic. For the new folks, I see if some folks just came in. I just wanted to say that this remind you that this video will be available to stream in its entirety after we get finished here. Just come to the same URL, the same YouTube URL, and you can watch it again. So without further ado, let's get started. This is Photomechanic. These are some sample images from a photographer named Charmy Pena, a friend of CameraBits, one of our favorites, a CameraBits ambassador, and she allowed us to use these photos in our demo. And this is Photomechanic. This is what we call the contact sheet, this area here with the thumbnails. No, this is just a folder on my computer. One thing that's important to know when you look at Photomechanic is that you're not really looking at images in Photomechanic per se. You're just looking at images that exist on your computer. This is the navigator over here. This is a file tree. This is everything that's on my computer. And this folder is just a folder in my computer. In fact, I'll come here and I'll reveal this in Finder. And it's this is just a folder, Charmy Pena images. It's on here. These are the images in this folder. And I'm using Photomechanic to look at that folder. So it's not like these exist only in Photomechanic. If I delete an image from here, I will be deleting it from my hard drive. So any changes made here, they don't need to be synced up to images as they exist. These are the actual images. You can come over here. You can change the size of the thumbnails if you want to view larger. You can rearrange this, come down this, make this a little wider. You control this. When you double click on one of these images, it opens up what we call the preview window, which is a larger view of the image. You have the larger images here. I'm starting to scroll through here. You can zoom in. I'm just pressing the Z key to zoom in, but you can come over here and come to the zoom control, and you can control how much you zoom. Again, and then just the Z key. One thing you should know when using Photomechanic is it is very, very much faster if you learn the keyboard shortcuts. The real pros have them all down, and they can go through things using the keyboard as much as possible. Every time you reach for the mouse, there are things you can do using the mouse, but it's going to slow you down. So if you can learn the keyboard shortcuts, that's always a good thing to do, and you can actually download PDFs of all the keyboard shortcuts if you want to keep them, print them out and keep them next to your desk while you're working or while you're learning Photomechanic. You can get those from our downloads page at camerabits.com. So as I said, this is the preview window. Over here you have what we call the film strip, all the other images in this folder. You can come up here to the tools and you can change that to, excuse me, let's see, change it to the bottom. This is for viewing. If you need to view two images side by side, you can do that. That can also be top to bottom. You can come and sort of maximize this and get rid of the information screens here as well. If you need to do a soft rotation, rotate the image, you can do that here. A lot of things you can do. Over here we have the histogram if you need to do, as we can see with this image, it's very dark. Very, very dark to be dramatic. So what are all these blue things? We have right here highlights and shadows shown to show the lost shadow detail. Whenever I have blocked details, you can see by the histogram things are blocked up in the darkness. For this image, artistically, that makes a ton of sense. But if you're evaluating images and wanted to know, like, can I recover the detail in this image because it's a raw image, that's always good to know. So, and then you can turn that off if you're not interested in that. So yeah, and then up here, obviously, there's some EXIF data about the image, what shutter was used, the lens, the aperture, a lot of the camera settings are up here. And you can customize this information as well. You can set it to only what you need or other types of things. For example, I have file size in here. You don't normally see that, but I've chosen to put file size in there for when I'm going through images. Sometimes I need to know if I'm looking at like an original image or what I'm looking at. So that's the basics of the. Okay, and real quick, I'm going to check out. I have a question here from Deborah. My screen does not look like yours. I have a hard time opening my catalogs. Sorry if this is super basic. Just starting using it. That's okay. Well, I'm not sure what you are seeing. I'm going to close this. This is what you might see the first time you open Photomechanic. Just sort of a blank contact sheet area. And then to open a contact sheet, as I said, you can either double click any folder over here. It's going to open that up. You can drag folders in, even from the Finder. You can drag a folder and drop it in here. Yeah, that's so. This is sort of what you'll see the first time, and you can also have multiple contact sheets open at one time. So I can double click on this. We see the tab for Charmy Pena images. I can double click on the engagement shoot. That's a separate tab, and you can switch back between tabs. You can also, within Photomechanic, use these to drag and drop. I can take images, I can drag them to a different folder right here in the navigator. You can move photos around. We also have a very powerful sort of a copy move dialog, which has a lot of other options for how to move photos. But if you want to just do a quick move photos, you can just drag and drop them in here. Hopefully that answers your question, Deborah. I'm not sure. You mentioned catalogs. I'll talk a real quickly a difference. What are catalogs? So I'm looking at Photomechanic Plus. There are two different products. We have Photomechanic Standard and Photomechanic Plus. Everything I'm going to cover in this webinar is basically available in Photomechanic Standard. That's all this photo management, being able to copy, move, add metadata. All these things exist in both Photomechanic Plus and Photomechanic. The difference with Photomechanic Plus is that it has a database that you can create a database of all your images on your computer and all your external drives and be able to search through those images and manage those images in one place. Most of these tools that I'm going to cover today are you generally would use these tools on a single shoot basis, like after one event or after one wedding or after one game or after one concert or something like that. Most of these tools I'm going to cover you would use that way. Photomechanic Plus has the additional thing of catalogs where you would search through. You would be able to search your entire photo collection, your photo history. As a million or more images can be searched very, very quickly. So that's the difference between Photomechanic and Photomechanic Plus. All right, yeah, Deborah said you have Photomechanic Plus. Yeah, that's the difference. We can I can at the end I'll briefly talk a little bit about catalogs just to cover that after we get done with this Photomechanic demo. It's good to know. Thank you very much. All right, so as I said, Photomechanic, we're going to do a demonstration where I'm going to ingest some photos, and then I'm going to go through a culling workflow. Culling is the process of identifying keepers, identifying rejects, finding your selects, what you want to take into your editing suite. Obviously, when you shoot an event like a wedding or something, you probably are not going to keep every single image you shot. You're going to want to find sort of your keepers. And obviously, when you bring images into, say, something like Lightroom and build a Lightroom catalog, the more images you bring into that, it's going to slow down. It's going to slow you down. So being able to sort of get rid of the rejects first before you even go into Lightroom is a big reason why people would use Photomechanic, and I'm going to show a little bit about that. There are three main ways to sort of identify or rate photos in Photomechanic. The first one is a star rating, 0 through 5 stars. As you can see, a lot of these are rated as well here. You can also assign a color class. There are 8 different color classes so that you can assign in Photomechanic. And then there's also just the tag, which is this checkbox here, just a tag on, tag off. And then as you look at your context sheet, you can filter this to show only certain subset of these images. So say if I wanted to show only the 3 stars and above, I can deselect up here in the upper right-hand corner, the star ratings widgets. I can hide the lower rated. It doesn't delete those images, it just filters them out. So they still exist there, but you don't have to look at them. And if you only want to see the green, the images you've tagged as green, you can come in here. One trick to know when you're using Photomechanic is normally you would single click on one of these colors to deselect it. But you can option click if you're using a Mac, or alt click if you're on a PC, and it automatically deselects every other item in the widget. So if I option click green, it's going to select green. So now I'm just looking at all the green tagged photos that are 3 stars and above. And then from there, if I did this, I can come to this drop down and say only view tagged images, and we get down to the one that I'm looking for. So that's sort of a basic introduction to the context sheet area and how you would view and filter photos. Now I'm going to, before we get into the ingest, I want to go into Photomechanic preferences and cover a few preferences that I think the first time you use Photomechanic it'd be good to be aware of. Now I'm going to open up the preferences screen here. It's normally you would find it under the file menu, or excuse me, the Photomechanic menu up here, preferences. But you'll see to the right side of all these images, it will tell you the keyboard shortcut. like I said, it's good to use this. So instead of that, I'm just going to go to Command Comma and open up the preferences. Here's the preferences screen. Now, there are a lot of preferences. Photomechanic has been around for over 20 years, and we've had a lot of photographers come to us with ideas. We've had a lot of feedback. We really value the feedback from photographers, and they told us like how they work and how they want to be able to do things. So we've added many, many different preferences. There's a drop down here for all the different sections of the preferences screen. Down here, if you're looking at this on a Windows machine, these would all be tabs, but it's the same content in either one. And we have different things with preferences for the contact sheet, for working with files, for launching, for how you store the metadata, things like that. A couple of preferences that I want to go over really quickly, just as an introductory thing. I'm going to come down to the preferences for the preview window. And there's a lot of preferences here, but I wanted to draw your attention to this automatically advance to the next photo when. And I have all these checked. When the tag is changed, when the color class is changed, when the rating is changed. Because when I do this culling session, I'm going to focus mainly on star ratings. That's how I use it. Other people can use it different ways. We'll show you that. But when I change a rating, when I assign a rating to an image, I want it to automatically move to the next photo after that. Like I said, Photomechanic is trying to combine steps as much as possible to save you time. So that's a good speed setting there. And now I'm going to come back up here into preferences under accessibility. And there's what we call the single key shortcuts. The single key shortcut is to either set the color class to the 5-star rating. This means if you just use one single number key, if you want the number keys to set the ratings, you can have that set here. Or if you want the number keys to set the color class, you can choose that as well. You're still able to set either one of these, no matter what this is set to. If you set this to set your single key to set rating, you can still add color classes a number of different ways. But the fast single key shortcut is going to be set for rating, so that's what I have it set to. But I'm going to show you how this works when we start doing the call. So those are two sort of quick preferences to know to optimize your speed. All right, now I'm going to call up the Ingest Dialogue. I have a memory card that I've plugged into my card reader. These have some images from a wedding shot by another friend of Camerabit's, Kim Smith Miller. She allowed us to use some images. So we're thanks to Kim for this, and we're going to copy those images, but I'm going to call it the Ingest Dialogue and talk a little bit about that. There's a lot on this screen as well to know about. To ingest files from a memory card is sort of the one of the basic tasks that almost everyone uses Photomechanic. Everyone who does use Photomechanic uses this feature. So here is the Ingest Dialogue. You can have Photomechanic set up to automatically pop this dialog up when you plug in a memory card, or you can have it set up to, you can call it yourself. On a Mac, that would be Command G will open the Ingest Dialogue, and you can also, it'll be Control G on a PC. So a lot of options up here. Here's the memory card. Photomechanic also, you should know, can handle, if you have 3 or 4 card readers all plugged in, if you have a high volume thing going on, a lot of different photographers sending you cards, you can do multiple ingests at the same time. That's why this area is so big. Well, we're just going to go with a single, I only have a single card reader plugged in this time, so just one card. And where am I gonna copy these images to? I have a destination here, which this is sort of the primary destination folder, and then I can do a secondary folder if I want to ingest to a backup at the exact same time. As I said, we're trying to combine steps here. And then down here, we're going to skip down here. We're going to talk about we're going to copy all the photos into a same folder. We're not going to. Sometimes the memory card can have images in different folders. We could set Photomechanic to preserve the source directories. But we're going to have it just put into the same folder. And then this is sort of the subfolder. Here we have here my primary folder, but within this demo folder, we're going to create a dated folder and then a folder with a name. And this is going to preview where these images are going to go. So it's going to go to here, this on my hard drive, a demo. It's going to create a dated folder automatically. I don't have to type in the date, and then it's going to create this folder here. We're going to have it set to copy locked and unlocked photos. Sometimes if you're shooting and you have a high priority image, you see maybe the touchdown or the kiss or something, or some high priority image that you need to get to the wire service or get to an editor or get to a client very quickly. You might lock that in your camera. Cameras allow you to lock photos in camera. You would select just ingest the lock. If you wanted to get to that photo quickly, you could copy the locked photo. So that's what that's all about. We're going to do both here. We're going to copy raw and non-raw photos. If you shoot raw plus JPEG, sometimes you might want to only copy in the raws because you use the JPEGs just to preview things. You can have that set here to either the raws or the non-raws. It's up to you. And then there's the apply metadata template to photos. I believe this is default to unchecked, but I'm going to check it because I want to apply some metadata. I want to, while I'm copying these images, I want to apply some metadata. I want to apply some a basic caption, some basic keywords, and importantly, my credit information, my copyright information. And I want to do that not in a separate step. I want to do it during the ingest, and that's how you would use this metadata template. So I'm going to open up the metadata template and tell you what I'm talking about. Here we go. There's a lot of fields here. This is some things. Now I've edited, or I've inserted some information about Kim Smith Miller, the photographer, on these images. I put in a basic caption, just some keywords about this event. Here's some about the event and location that's in here. Now I've already typed this stuff in, but I wanted to show you something very important. A little aside here. Down here in the corner, you see this little lightning bolt icon. We call this the snapshot icon. The snapshot icon allows you to save. You'll see this icon on a lot of different dialogues and preference screens in Photomechanic. This allows you to save all the options in whatever particular dialogue you're looking at to a preset. So I've come down here. I've created a preset. So here I have a preset for my own information. Here's got all my stuff. This is my my name, my copyright things, and I'll put the model of my camera and my keywords, things like that. But here's I have the preset. I can just switch back between these presets just this as fast as this. So I can do here. So if you have different clients or different types of photography that you do that would need different schemes of metadata, you can save those here to be able to quickly switch between those. That's a key thing with Photomechanic. The snapshot icon. Get to know the snapshot icon on pretty much any dialog box or preference screen of Photomechanic. It's very helpful to be able to save these presets. So, like I said, this information will be applied to all the images that get copied over from the memory card. And then there's the option here to rename the ingested photos. This is big for me, and this is going to introduce the concept real quick of what we call variables. Variables, whenever you see something in the curly brackets, these terms, these variables will go into the image itself, take that image out, take that information out, and put it into wherever you put this field. So this is the rename field. I'm going to rename these photos with the date sort variable, underscore, and the frame number. This means that the images, when they get copied over, will be they'll have a date in the file name and then the original frame number. So I'll know that later. You don't need to do that. You can obviously deselect this and not rename this. But I wanted to talk to you a little bit about the variables here. If you come down here, there's a button to show you all the variables that are available, and there are quite a lot of them. But here's the whole list. A lot of this information comes to you from the EXIF data, but some of it can be tagged into the photos later and then accessed. And I can show you a little bit about that as well in a little bit. But if, like, for example, here's if you put the today month, it's going to show the actual month of today it will insert that into whatever field you type that variable. There's the time sort. As I said, I did the date sort, which is up here, date sort. There are different formats here. You can use the date sort with dashes, date sort without dashes, a lot of different things. So getting to know variables, we have a whole list, obviously, on the CameraBits website under their support site, which is docs.camerabits.com. That's docs.camerabits.com. That's our help site with a lot of tutorials and help articles and manual pages that are there. But for now, just know that use these variables to automate the file naming during the ingest. And then we have some options here about opening the contact sheets in the background, erasing the source disk after ingest, unmounting the source disk. If you were headed out back into the field and you wanted to skip the step of having to go in and eject the card, click this and you would unmount the source disk. So that, again, it's trying to save yourself a step. So I am going to now just start off the ingest, and we'll get going here on the demo. So as you can see down here, by the way, is the sort of the progress indicator of this ingest, and you can see that the comments are coming here, and here are the files coming in. In the contact sheet, we can see now the file name, as I said, has the date here, and then the frame number from the file. These have already been renamed for that. And these are in here. So let's go within. Now here's how I do a cull and how many people do a cull. Double click on the first image. It opens up in the preview window. And now you can start sort of evaluating this. Now, if you'll recall, I have my single keys set to set star ratings. And I'm going to look at this image and I'm going to go, okay, it seems a little underexposed. That's fine. But if I look at the histogram and I look at my highlights and shadows, if I show lost shadow detail, these are dark, but the shadow detail isn't lost. So this image could be saved, because it's a raw file, it could be saved in Camera Raw or Lightroom fairly simply. So this is actually a pretty good image. So I'm gonna give this a 3 stars. So as soon as I hit the 3 key, automatically advance to the next image. And I can look at these and I can say, okay, that's nice. That's a 2. Oh, that's a little bit better. That's a good smile. Maybe give that a 3. And I can start going through these images and making my evaluations. I go through a first pass, and I very much operate on my initial impressions. I don't look too much at things, so I try to make that as quick as possible. My quick snap reaction, and you can go through these and go, okay, this is great. So I'm just hitting the number keys. I'm like, okay, there's a lot of motion blur there. I might not want to use that, so these are all 1s. Come through here. That's that's getting a little better. Oh, that's a good picture. Maybe that's an uncle. Here we go. Oh, here's some good dancing shots. Maybe this is some cool, nice shoes there. That's good. Maybe that's a good accent image or something. Talking about the image, I'm going to give that a 3. Well, that's if I need to go back and compare something, I can go back with the back arrow, even though I've already rated it. And maybe I want to compare this. I can turn this on and go, okay, let's take a look here. Which of these 2 images do I want to save? And I can say, oh, maybe this one with the knees is a little bit funnier for whatever. Maybe I'll give that a 4 star. Come back here. Excuse me. Oh, that's a 1. You know, obviously, so getting rid of these rejects is obviously a big part of the culling process and being able to do that quickly. And I want to point out, so I'm looking at some raw files from a Nikon camera, and I'm just going to hold down the arrow key just to show you how fast this can scroll from all these images. Because Photomechanic is not a pixel editor, because we're not going to do, you know, the actual post-processing, Photomechanic can get these images and view them much quicker than you could, say, in some other software. And you're saving, I don't know, maybe a second, maybe a half second, maybe 2 seconds between images. If you're looking at 300, 400, 500 images, more than that, those 1 to 2 seconds can certainly add up over time. As you can see, that can save you so much time in this culling process. I think that's one of the first things that people who use Photomechanic seem to notice, and one of the big reasons why people use Photomechanic and recommend it to their friends is this speed in the cull, being able to go through all these images much faster than they could before. I know when I shot concerts back in my prior life, I had a lot of times in the backseat of a car or coming home and going through a call at 2 in the morning and it taking me forever. And I wish I had known Photomechanic back then. It would have saved me so much time. But let's go back to this call process. I'm like, oh, let's maybe go back and give that a 2. This is that's a 4. I like his smile there. This is great. Oh, that's good. It's maybe that's a 2. That's good. That's a little bit better. That's a 3. So yeah, go through these things, and we don't need to go through all these. You get the idea of what I'm doing here. I just have my finger on the number keys. Every time I press a number, it advances to the next, and I'm making this culling process. So we'll. I like that. I'm going to give that a 4 star. Maybe keep that. That's a special one. And as you go along, so then if I want to get out of the preview window, I could click the X up here, but using the escape key, obviously a little faster, will get me back to the contact sheet window. And now we can go through and start whittling these down. I can hide the 0 star, the 1 stars, the 2 stars, and maybe all my 3 stars and above. Maybe this one I said, oh, you know what? I didn't want both of these. This is a 2, and then I just come over here and I hit F5, function F5 to refresh and get rid of that. That's a 2 star since I'm showing 3 stars. And now if I need to say maybe this one might be my possible cover shot for an album, I can come down and just click into here if I want to add a color class. Like I said, even though I have the single key set to the star ratings, I can still add a color class, and I could still add a tag here just by checking the box. Or if I just press the T key from here, that will turn the tag on and off. And then, yeah, so we'll go through here, and these, now I find these, and then if I need to go through a second calling pass, maybe my first pass was so fast, I, was only looking for certain things, but now I want to have more critical eye. Since I've created this, now that I filtered out all the 0 through 2 stars, I can do another pass, double click on the first one, and now as I scroll through these, I'm only looking at the 3 stars and above, and I can start maybe do a different pass to see how I want to do that. So it's like how you color is certainly up to you. It's a very personal process. Everyone I talk to seems to do things a little bit differently. But Photomechanic hopefully allows you to work the way you like to do that. Maybe you want to look at only your rejects to make sure there's nothing you missed. So let's only look at the 0, 1, and 2 stars, right? So now maybe I want to go through this pass, and maybe I'm looking for a certain player in a sports photo, or if I'm looking for a certain personality from a wedding, like maybe they really want pictures of a sister or a grandmother or something that you're looking at. Maybe you might want to go through the 1 or 2 stars just to make sure there is something you haven't missed that way. That's another way you might do that. All right, let's see some questions here in the chat, so I'm going to talk about this. I don't see that drop-down list of variables. I'm not sure where you're looking, Deborah, so let's go back and talk about, so say, I'm going to call up the preferences, and I'm going to call up the ingest screen, which is Command G. Here's the variables here. Down here, this button. Now I'm also going to look at the information, the metadata for this image. So I'm going to click on the I can either click on this button I, or I can press the I key, and it's going to call it the metadata for this image. We'll see that this the metadata that I had assigned has been copied here. And again, here's the variables button at the bottom of this screen. No, so there we go. And Bromwin, sorry if I messed that up. Thank you very much for coming. Can you flag them in Lightroom? I use stars and flags to organize. We haven't found a way to be able to add the flag in Lightroom. It would be nice if they read the IPTC tag as a flag, but they do not do that. So unfortunately, there's no way to get the flags from Photomechanic into Lightroom, but the stars and the color classes will come through into Lightroom. So what I might say is, if you're not using color classes in Lightroom, or if you're not using stars in Lightroom, find one of those things. Maybe you say 5 stars in Photomechanic is going to be flagged in Lightroom, and you might give those images 5 stars, and then when you bring those into Lightroom, you can filter and show the 5 stars, and then add the flags that way. Yeah, unfortunately, I haven't found any way to get Lightroom. I don't believe they make that metadata publicly added, unfortunately. So yeah, I would, if it were me, I might do it that way with the stars, or like I said, I use star ratings myself, so maybe I might say I might just add blue in all my blue images in Photomechanic. When I bring them into Lightroom, maybe I'll add the flags that way. Hopefully that's helpful. Yeah. What else? So yeah, this was a basic call. Now I said let's go back through these. Let's look at, just give me the 3 stars and above, or make it 3 stars. Now I want to bring these into, maybe I want to bring them into Lightroom. Maybe I want to bring them into Capture One. I'm going to use Photoshop here, and it's going to call Camera Raw up. Let's just go for these the 4 and 5 stars. These are maybe my keepers. So the very fastest way, the easiest way, you can select all these and just hit the E key, or Command. Excuse me, because I'm using multiples. I'll do Command E, and it's going to open. It's going to ask me if I really want to edit these, because I have a number of them selected. I'll say yes, but it's going to call up Photoshop and then bring these into Camera Raw. They all load in here. That's for me. That's fastest. I used to be a heavy Lightroom user personally, but I found that I can do a lot. I can do pretty much all the same stuff in Camera Raw that I could do in Lightroom, but then I can also, I didn't like using the Lightroom catalogs. I found them a little bit slow and unwieldy. And I like being able to manage my files with a little more flexibility. But that's just a personal thing. If you want to use Lightroom CC, you can do that. If you want to use Lightroom Classic, you can do that. So we'll cancel this out of here, and let's go back into Photomechanic. So if I hit E on an image, it's going to use my default editor. And I'm going to go back into preferences here and show you how you can customize this and get a little bit more flexibility around that process. So let's come down here into the down here, accessibility. I want to look at launching, And here we go. I have the, you can either have the Finder, whatever you have your set to, whether that's Finder in a Mac or Explorer in Windows, whatever that application we use to open those files, you could have that do it. Or you can assign a default application. Here I have this set to always use Photoshop. But if you want different editing applications for each file type, you can even get very fine grained down here. You could say if I want GIFs, I could have GIF set to open with something else. If I have PNGs to use something else. Things like that. Obviously, if you want, maybe if you're working with, say, for example, Fuji, I use a Fuji personally, and I might want to open Fuji files in Iridian Developer because they do a great job. I could set that. I could come in here to Fuji files, and I could choose a different editor for those. So you can really customize this, and down at the bottom you even have these custom editor slots. You can put different things in here. So I'll show you what this does if I fill out these custom editor slots, and we'll cancel this. Now, if I'm looking at an image and I have a special, say, thing I want to do with this image, I can right-click and go to Edit Photo With, and it's going to list all those custom editors here. So if I have a number of different editors that I want to choose from, I can do that. So like I said, we try to make Photomechanic work with other software as much as possible, just to save steps and to make it as quick as possible. Let's see. Ken says, I can get the stars and color ratings, but why would you also use tags? That's a good question. One reason everyone can use these rating systems however they want. Tags are good just because they're on or off. You don't have to think about, is this good, really good, very good? Is this a reject, not a reject, close reject? Having tags is just maybe your first pass might be just tag the out of focus shots, right? So let's come back in here. And I'm going to go through these again, and I might say, I'm just going to tag the out of focus shots just to get rid of those faster. And I can have my finger on the T key. And I can just go arrow down through here. I can say, oh, that's a T tag. You can very quickly go through images and just do the tag where you don't really have to evaluate a lot of things. Tags being quickly, now I can show only the tag, and I come in here and say, okay, these are the images. I might just Command A, select all of them, and Command Delete, and just if I wanted to get rid of them all. Like you might use tags that way. It's really up to you. Like I said, we try to be as flexible as possible. A lot of people have different, they have a 3-pass system, 4 passes for their coloring. We just want to give you as many options as possible. All right, Nick asks, can you import GPS coordinates from Lightroom to Photomechanic? Let's see. So if you are in Lightroom and you have assigned images, I'll talk a little bit about GPS. So Photomechanic does read GPS data if you have it. If you don't have it, you can add it. So here's an image. If I wanted to select these images and add some GPS, I right click on here and set GPS coordinates. A map will come up, and then you can basically, type in a city or something. Portland, OR, not Portland. And within here, and now you just drag the map to okay, I know this happened at a church or a location, down here by the river. Then you accept that. Then you would apply. You could apply to all the images. You could apply to just that image and move to the next one. That's how you would assign if you didn't have geo-tagged images already. If you did have a geo-tagged image and right-click, there would be the option. You could have show map on here. It would show where the GPS coordinates are, and those GPS coordinates will pass through into Lightroom. Now, if you have GPS coordinates in Lightroom, I believe there's an option in Lightroom. I know Classic more than I know Lightroom CC, or what they call just regular Lightroom now. But there's an option in the menu of Lightroom to update metadata in the files or sync the metadata into the actual files. If you do that, then all the metadata from the Lightroom catalog will be written into the actual files, and then you would see that in Photomechanic. I don't know if that answers your question, but that's how I would. That's sort of the overview of GPS information in Photomechanic. And yes, if you apply GPS information in Photomechanic, it should come. And then if I were to import these images into Lightroom, you would see that GPS image, see that GPS data. Whew, sorry, I'm starting to ramble a little bit fast here. But okay, so I showed you, like I would take these into maybe Photoshop, and I do my edits. Maybe then I would, if I was in Photoshop, and I might save the keepers to a folder or a subfolder. Now I might want to send those images somewhere else. Maybe I need to send them to a client. I need to upload them to a gallery. Photomechanic has ways to do that as well. In fact, I'm going to call up the uploader. I'm just going to call it Command U, which is going to open the uplader. And here we have the file uploader. We have things in here for if you have an Amazon, if you save images to Amazon S3, a Dropbox account. If you just need to FTP them, a lot of journalist outlets will have an FTP site. You can do that if you need to send them to your Photo Shelter or your SmugMug or your Zenfolio account. You can do that right from within Photomechanic. You can post an image to Twitter if you want to do that. And the good, cool thing about this is, and this is another thing I wish I had back in the day when I was shooting for different magazines in Southern California. The magazine or the outlet would say, send us images that are 1200 pixels on the long side with a certain file name structure with like the name of the publication or the date and the photographer's name in there. And I was in Photoshop at the time, or Lightroom, and I would be exporting copies. Then I would be going into Finder and then renaming things with the file name structure that the publication asked for. And then I would have 2 copies of the image because I just saved different copies. What Photomechanic can do, and this is actually really clever, will be able to, even if I'm looking at, I can save images as JPEG, I can resize it. So I can come down here to the image processing. I can say, give me 1200 pixels on the long side. I can say rename these images, and I can say, LA Weekly, then maybe, my name, maybe use the variable again for the date sort. That's with the curly bracket, date. Oops. And as I start to type that in there, it kind of gives you a preview, so I could do that. So what this is going to do is going to convert to a JPEG that's going to be 1200 pixels on the long side. It's going to rename it, send it to the FTP site, and then I don't have to deal with those copies again. Like I don't have to keep track of or delete them. It will do that on the fly during the upload. That way you don't have to save these unless you want to. If you check this box, you can save the copies if you want to. But I would usually not do that. I don't need to have a certain copy, and it's not going to clutter up my hard drive. It's not going to sort of confuse me about what version of the images is my original. So this is something I wish I had back in the day. Very, very powerful feature, the file uploader, being able to create these copies on the fly, and then not have to have them saved and clogging up your hard drive. So that's a big thing for me personally. That's the file uploader. Hopefully that was helpful. And then, what else? So that's sort of the basics about Photomechanic. There are things about, I said I was going to go over more about the variables. We have, like I said, there's a powerful file copy, a renaming tool. If I do Command M, it's going to call up the rename dialog. And you can put in here. So now if I want to rename an image, you can, again, there's the variables here, and you can rename images, but with this whole thing, it will give you the preview of what these images are going to become. Let's look at some other variables. Maybe I want to have excuse me, let's go back into this again. Maybe I want to put the name of the photographer, but maybe I'm working with images from a number of different photographers and I don't want to have to look up each one. I'm going to use the variable for credit, right? I'm just going to put that in a variable. And so there's that. And as you can see, I'll put maybe I'll just use a sequence variable. So click sequence. It's going to add the numbers as they go. We'll start this. We're going to start at 001. And here we go. It's going to rename automatically to the actual credit name, which is the credit in the metadata. It's going to put that in there, Kim Smith Miller Photography, -001. It'll rename all these to do that. So that's a way. So you can, and then you can save this as a snapshot. So if you have different naming things for different outlets or different types of clients or destinations, you can have presets for all those, and you can have those. And so like I said, if I was an editor working with a number of different photographers, and I didn't want to, I could name a whole group of say 100 photos from 5 different photographers, put the credit in there. I could rename them all in one step and have the file names be different for each one based on that credit variable. That's sort of the whole reason for variables, to be able to do things in one step that might have taken me 5 steps in prior to Photomechanic. And there's also another. I want to show you the copy move dialog, which is sort of operates on the same principle. If you want to copy images to say a folder, in fact, this is something. If someone said to me like, I have a bunch of photographs on my hard drive, I want to start organizing them. I might say, well, what if you wanted to put all your images into folders based on year? So you have like photos from the last 10 years. You would like to put them into folders based on 2010, 11, 12, 13. what I might do is come here to the copy images, and I might say like, okay, for example, I could come to my demo folder, and I could say open. In fact, I'll need to close this one first. Close these, but I could say open my demo, open folder, and all the subfolders in a new contact sheet, right? So it's going to look through all the subfolders of my demo folder. This is everything in here, all the ones from here, a lot of other things. I might select them all, open the copy dialog, and I say, okay, I'm going to copy all these images, or maybe I'm going to move them, and I'm going to put into a subfolder, but I'm going to use the variable year 4. What would this do? This would take every image in this demo folder, put it into a new folder based on the actual year that the image is from. So then it would sort all these images in one step and create folders. It would create a 2010, a 2011, a 2012 folder. It would be able to do that all in one single step. It's very, very powerful. This copy move dialog, if you use this and you need to manage photos, very, 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 very powerful. You can do a rename during the copy. Uncheck that. You don't have to rename. You can apply specific metadata. Say you're creating copies of images and you want to add a keyword that says it's a copy. You might have in here, you might put in, this is just put the keyword copy. You could have that in there. You don't want to. And so when you're looking at this metadata template, by the way, these checks mean you're going to apply this. And this check means, if you have this check with the plus, it means it's going to append. If I uncheck this, it will overwrite all the keywords. If I check this, it's going to add this keyword to whatever keyword's already in an image. So that's an example there of using the copy move dialog as well. It's like you can create folders. You can move them to a specific folder. You could say, always pick a folder. Photomechanic will ask you for each folder. And then you can open the destination as a new contact sheet if you want. So if you need to further work on those photos. There's so many different options in here. Very, very powerful. And that is the basic. As then I said, that's sort of the basics of Photomechanic. Photomechanic Plus, as I said, I wanted to talk about really briefly. We're getting to the end here. Photomechanic Plus is over here. You click on this, and we'll have a different catalogs. I think right now my catalogs need to be updated. There's just a new version of Photomechanic came out, and I haven't updated my catalogs. But I could come in here, and since I have different catalogs like this, my catalog, I have different catalogs for different drives. An incoming drive, I have a main SSD. I could search through all these different, if I check the box for all these different catalogs, I could search through all of them right through this quick search bar. And I could then I could create very powerful filters. I could create a filter that says only show me images from the past 6 months that are on these drives, or only show me the 3-star images, 3 stars and above from these images, or only show me images with the music keyword that are 6 months older or newer from certain drives. It's very, very powerful. I could do a whole separate webinar on Photomechanic Plus, and maybe I should do that one of these days. But it's this being able to create a database of all your images is the point of Photomechanic Plus. It's when you get Photomechanic Plus, it's basically everything that's in Photomechanic with the addition of that database. So that's the difference between the two things. Deborah asks, are these folders now on your hard drives, or do they simply exist in Photomechanic? Very good question. They will exist on your hard drive. Once I said, when you're using Photomechanic itself, anything you do in Photomechanic, if you move these, if I grab these and I say I want to move these to a different folder, it's going to move them into different folders on your hard drive. You'll see this. In fact, I can show you an example of how I might do that. So these are in this folder here, right? So let's select all these, and we're going to go, okay, I want to move these into different folders based on the star ratings, right? Let's try that. So we're going to move the photos. We're going to delete the originals. We're not going to rename them. We're going to create subfolders. We're going to use the variable for stars, right? We're going to say it's going to create a subfolder in here. And let's try this. We'll do this. Let's see, move photos. It's going to go through all these. Some of them are unrated, but now we're going to look, and now all these subfolders have been created. There's all the 1-star images are in this folder. All the 2 stars are in this folder. All the 3 stars are in this folder. And all my unrated are here. So I'll just go through and reveal in Finder, and you can see that all these folders have been created in Finder. That's so Photomechanic. Yeah, when you make changes in Photomechanic, it changes the pictures or the locations where they actually are. All right, let's see what else. Broadman says, I don't really understand photo contact sheets, brand new user. What is a contact sheet? I'm on the free trial and asked me to choose where to put a contact sheet every time I open PM. Great question for a new user. So a contact sheet is really just you can think of a contact sheet basically as a folder that exists on your computer. If you, so I'm going through the this navigator here, and I have folders. These are all folders on my computer. Here's my demo folder. Here's the charming pages. If I double click on this, I'm going to open this folder, and it's just going to show me all the images that are in this folder. Actually, I went through and did this for the whole group. So yes, if I click on this folder, it's going to show me all these. So it's just going to show me. So if I right click and I show this, reveal this in Finder, it's going to show me all the images that are in this particular folder. So clicking on a contact sheet is just a folder. But you can also, sort of an advanced thing is that if you want to right click on any of these folders, you can say open folder and the subfolders in a new contact sheet, which is I'm going to do. In fact, I want to move all these back into this original thing because I don't want them in here. So I'm going to move these all into the Charmy Pena image folder. Now they're all back in this same folder, which is what I wanted in the first place. So I click on the Charmy Pena, all those images are in that folder. That's the contact sheet. This is the contact sheet for the Charmy Pena images folder. Hopefully that answers your question. Let's, as another thing, I'm going to go back into preferences again, Command comma back into general, and on startup when I launch Photomechanic, I can open an empty contact sheet. I could show the ingest disks dialog. I could restore the contact sheet from the last section, or you could do nothing. And then it's up to you to open a contact sheet. So if you don't want it to ask you about contact sheets, change this to say restore the contact sheet from the last session. Or open an empty contact sheet every time you open Photomechanic. It's up to you how you want it to behave. Photomechanic Plus, I have upgraded to and looking forward to Photomechanic Plus tutorials. Yes, there are a number of tutorials on our website. If I can actually call that up here. Let's see, and bring this up here. Just a moment. Right, okay, here we go. Here's our docs.canvas.com site, and we have a lot of getting started with Photomechanic Plus. Here's a video just with an overview of Photomechanic Plus right here on our site. You can check that out. And other different articles, how to find your catalogs using the organizer. We have articles on things like this. So this docs.canvas.com site has a lot of helpful resources there. Where can I find more information about Photomechanic Plus search? There's a good, I believe there's a good article in here on search. There's definitely a search between filtering and browsing. What else we have here? Here's a whole article on search that talks a bit about how you do different things. So if you could, like here's an example of how to search for the city and the rating. You can do very complex search strings. There's a lot of different options in here between relative capture times. A lot of examples here on the doc site. Hopefully that helps you, Paulo. How is Brazil, by the way? I wish I were there. I wish I could visit. I love the music that I hear from there, and I would love to visit someday. So maybe we'll be able to do that after the world sort of recovers from this pandemic thing that we're in. But that's it. So we're wrapping up here. I'm going to hit the top of the hour. Kind of went a little bit over, but this was an overview of Photomechanic. If you have any other questions, please do not hesitate to contact our support team. We have live people doing customer support every day at Photomechanic, or at least during the weekdays. And we do answer emails as well, but you can, during, I believe it's 9 to 4 p.m. Western Standard Time in the U.S. Just give us a call on the phone. We'll have a human being will pick up, and you can ask questions on the phone. Even if you're a trial user, if you're you don't have a license yet, we'll give you free tech support while you're on the trial. If you have questions about how to do something, if there's something here that maybe I got into a little quickly, I know I did sort of start to rush there at one point, but you can either go back and replay this video at the same URL or call our customer support team. They're happy to go through these things as well, or give you advice. Say I have I have 10,000 images. I want to know like how I might want to rename them all or store them. We might be able to give you some advice or how you would do things in Photomechanic. We're happy to do that. We really take our customer support seriously. So do that a try. Other than that, yeah, that's Photomechanic, and this was getting started. We'll be doing another one of these webinars in 2 weeks. It will probably cover pretty much the same material, but if you want to see something again or ask further questions, you're certainly welcome to come back in 2 weeks. We do these bi-weekly, and maybe I'll start to come up with something for Photomechanic Plus as well. I've been getting to use it myself a lot, and I'll be able to do one of those fairly soon. So keep an eye out for that. I don't know when we'll do that, but we'll do some webinars about Photomechanic Plus at some point. Thank you very, very much. Hopefully I got to all the questions I saw, and yeah, have a great rest of your day, and happy photographing. Thank you all, everyone.